A lot of people are going to hate what I'm about to say because it's not necessarily what they want to hear, but it's the truth. This is what works. Hey friends, it's me, Amy Rebecca, your internet bestie for all things personal development, intentional living and dream chasing. Today we're going to do something a little bit different, and we're going to chat about the pretty dramatic changes that I've seen in my body recently and what changes I put in place to get to the point where I can honestly say that I am in the best shape of my life. I am the strongest, I am the fittest, I am the healthiest that I've ever been, and I am feeling pretty happy about it. So I'm going to be sharing, firstly, and most importantly, some of the most fundamental and necessary mindset shifts that you need to make if you want to make these kinds of changes in your own life. And then we're going to be talking more about some practical tips in terms of diet and exercise. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's jump in. Without doing a whole cheesy X Factor style, this is the tragic story of my life type of thing, I am going to give you a quick little bit of context because I think it's helpful. Like most millennials who grew up in the early 2000s, I have never really had a particularly great relationship with my body or food. I mean, it was a time when they were promoting just eating 2 bowls of cereal a day to drop a jean size, so I'd be amazed if anyone came out of that period mentally unscathed. All of that to say, I have a history of some really unhealthy eating habits and a lot of yo-yo dieting, and so to find something that has worked for me in a very sustainable and healthy way is huge. This is big news. The switch kind of flipped in 2020 when I was living in Vietnam, and I will be completely honest, my physical and mental health were both at a very questionable point at that time. I pretty much just stopped taking care of my body at all. I couldn't run because where I lived in Hanoi there were no pavements and the traffic was insane, and there was a lot of livestock in the street. Not peak running conditions. The gym near where I lived was really expensive, and so I stopped exercising, and I wasn't sleeping well because I was really stressed. And my kitchen, honestly, it really wasn't much of a kitchen. It wasn't conducive to actually cooking anything that couldn't just be reheated in a microwave. So I was ordering in a lot of like takeaway food and just eating a lot of convenience food, not sleeping, not exercising, not taking care of myself at all, because at that point I was very unhappy and I was just trying to tread water and make it through the day. Surviving, not thriving. And then I decided, like, girl, enough is enough, this has gone too far. So here's everything that I did to be able to make those changes, lose the weight, get fitter, get healthier, change my diet, change my mindset in a way that is still sustainable to me now. The number one reason I think I was able to make those changes in a way that is sustainable and that I'm able to keep up with consistently with ease is because I used my This Time Next Year challenge method. Now, I have talked about this before, and I will leave a link in the description box if you want to go and read more about the This Time Next Year challenge, the ins and outs of how it works. But basically, at its most basic level, it is all about deciding what you want your life to look like by this time next year, figuring out the exact steps that you're going to need to implement to get you from where you are right now to where you want to be, and then just taking one small positive step in the right direction every day. You are just focusing on slowly but consistently bridging the gap from where you are to where you want to be. Now, I'd already used this exact same method to transform my mental health when I was struggling with anxiety and depression. I used it to publish my book. I used it to start a business. So I knew that I could use this exact formula to help me get in the best shape of my life. No question. And the reason why it works is because anytime you want to make any change in your life, whether this is with regards to your health and your fitness or something completely different, there is always going to be a certain amount of distance between your starting point and your end goal. And there's nothing you can do to make that distance less. There are going to be certain things that you have to do to get from one to the other. And what a lot of people do is just try and get from one to the other as quickly as possible. They just want to get to the finish line. And so that's when you see people doing things like going on crash diets, or signing up to go to the gym 5 days a week even though they've never exercised before, or cutting out chocolate, or saying I only eat salad now. They completely overhaul their entire life and implement so many changes all at once because they just want to get to the finish line as quickly as they can. And the thing about that is it's just not sustainable. Very quickly that is going to feel exhausting, it's going to feel frustrating, it's going to feel overwhelming, you're not going to enjoy it, and you're going to give up. And I know this because I tried to do that loads of times in the past and it never works. With the This Time Next Year challenge, the pace is slow because you have an entire 365 days to get from your starting point to where you want to be. And that gives you time to implement gradual changes. You can gradually start to include exercise, and over time you can increase the intensity and the frequency. You can gradually make changes to your diet. You can gradually form new habits. And I know people hate to hear that because people want immediate results. You want to be able to start today and be done by the end of next month, and that's just not how it works. Anything worth having takes time. The next 365 days are going to pass anyway, so you may as well dedicate yourself to being consistent in doing a little bit less at a little bit of a slower pace and actually getting to the end result that you want than trying to go at it really quickly and overwhelming yourself and never actually achieving it. I also think my success this time in making these changes was down to the fact that I really shifted my mindset. I took my focus from wanting to be skinny and lose weight and be in a smaller size jeans to just wanting to be healthy. And I know that that sounds like such a major cliche. I get it. But here's the thing, I started listening to Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett. It's one of my favorite podcasts. And every time he would have some kind of like health expert on there, they would be talking about how exercise is so important to your overall health and longevity. And I know we all know this on a deep level. We know exercise is good. But when I started hearing over and over again about how exercise could reduce my risk of osteoporosis, of heart disease, of cancer, it could increase the longevity of my life and the quality of my life as I get older, because you want to be able to have mobility when you're in your 70s and 80s, and you're not going to be able to have that unless you start putting in the groundwork in your 20s, 30s, 40s. Suddenly, my goal was something much bigger than the number on the inside of my jeans. And I think no matter what kind of change you're trying to make in your life, one of the most important tools in your arsenal is your why. And look, wanting to look good in a bikini is fine. Girl, live your life. I support you. I love that for you. But your overall health and living longer and living better and putting yourself at risk for less disease is a much more powerful why. And you know what? When your motivation starts to lag, which it will, ultimately it does for all of us, and when you start to feel like, oh, maybe I don't want to do this anymore, it's the why that is going to get you up and keep you going. And so having a big why like that, it's really impactful. Another tip I have that is an absolute game changer is to switch up what success looks like for you. Certain things in life are outside of our control, and we hate that. It sucks, but it is what it is. And if we pin our sense of success on things that are outside of our control, then we set ourselves up to feel disappointed and defeated and frustrated, and we're going to get to a point where we think, it's not working, I'm not seeing the results that I want to see, so I'm just going to give up. The scale is a perfect example of this. Okay, I know traditionally a lot of people want to measure their kind of like weight loss, health, fitness, success according to the scale. The scale is not going to tell you how well you've eaten that week, how well nourished you are. It's not going to tell you how much you smashed it at the gym, because your weight fluctuates based on so many things outside of your control, like your hormones, your stress levels, your sleep, your water retention. So if you hop on the scale and it hasn't moved one week, or heaven forbid it's gone in the opposite direction, that's going to feel so disappointing to you if you feel like you've done everything right. You've eaten really well and you've got in your exercise and you've been drinking enough water, and then here it's like a slap in the face. Instead, everything changes when you make the action your marker of success. So decide what your action is going to be. I'm going to work out 3 times a week, or I am going to eat 3 portions of vegetables a day, or I am going to drink 8 cups of water every day. And measure your success by whether or not you followed through and did that thing, because that is within your control. Obviously some exceptional circumstances, like if you get sick, if life is crazy, but on the day-to-day, turning up and doing the things you said you were going to do, that is within your control. And when you put the focus on what you are doing rather than the outcome you want out of what you are doing, it really helps to keep you focused, because you feel like you are the one who is moving the needle. You're not waiting to see what the results are going to be. Have I been successful? Yes or no? You are in charge of that success. And that is It's so empowering. Let's talk about exercise. To start, in the very beginning, I think the most important thing is just to move. Forget about should I be doing cardio versus strength training? What should my splits be? Should I be doing Pilates versus yoga? Just move. Find a kind of exercise that you enjoy, that is accessible to you, and that is sustainable within your lifestyle. You really don't want to go from no movement to waking up at 5 a.m. every day and going to the gym, because that's too much change too quickly, and again, that is not sustainable. For example, for me, when I first started working out, I did Chloe Ting workouts in my living room 3 times a week, and the reason I did that was because the gym near me was too expensive, I couldn't go running outside. Workouts in my living room, they were quick, they were easy, they were accessible. I enjoyed Chloe Ting workouts. And 3 times a week at the beginning, it was all I could do. And can I tell you something? My progress was quite slow. Even Chloe Ting looked a little bit underwhelmed when she saw my before and after. But it was really important for me to start slow with just 30 minutes 3 times a week, because that was all I had available to me mentally. It was all I had available to me physically. It was all I had available to me within my working schedule. But once I got into the habit of working out and I got comfortable with those 3 workouts a week, guess what? My body started to get stronger. I was fitter, and I started to get used to having those endorphins, so I could work out more. I could increase the frequency of my workouts because I'd built my body up to that. And not only could I do it, but I wanted to, because I'd gotten to the point where I craved those endorphins. Now I work out anywhere from 4 to 8 times a week. Usually it's 7, and that sounds crazy, I'm fully aware. That's a lot of working out. I do kettlebells, I do pump, I lift weights, and I'm training for a 10k. Who is she? But I work out that often because I love it, because it brings me genuine joy. If I had tried to do all of that exercise in 2022 when I first started, I would have been exhausted, I would have hated it, it would have felt like a punishment, like a chore, and I would have given up. So again, start slow. Start with whatever is manageable to you, and if that is a 15-minute walk 3 times a week, start there. So let's talk about diet. A lot of times people ask me if I count calories. Like I said, I have historically not had a great relationship with food, and this is a very difficult line for me to walk. I find it challenging. On the one hand, I fully understand that if I want to be in the best shape of my life, then I need to not be over consuming too many calories. On the other hand, I know that it is not good for me mentally to be counting calories. So for me personally, I don't count calories. That's not me saying that you should or you shouldn't. What I try to do is just find balance. I don't ignore calories. I will look at a packet and see how many calories are in whatever I'm going to eat, and then I'll think to myself, you know, if I'm going to be eating a pizza later and that's high in calories, then I'll have something lighter for lunch, and I'll just try and find balance without going into the nitty-gritty of counting every single calorie I eat. That is just what works for me. But I would say that one of the most important shifts I made in my diet was not being afraid of calories anymore. You know, in the past, I would almost want to squirrel my calories away, keep as many as I could for as late on in the day as possible. So have a really light breakfast, a really light lunch, and try and keep my calories back. Calorie hoarding. And then all that happened was that I'd be like so hungry by lunchtime, I'd find myself face down in a bag of Doritos. It's not good to have that ultra restrictive mindset. It's not healthy. So now, do you know what I do? I have like a really big filling breakfast. Actually, I have 2 breakfasts, like a little hobbit.
What about second breakfast?
I have something light and pretty carby before I go to the gym, and then I come home, I have my second breakfast that's got a little bit more protein, and then I feel satiated to carry me through until lunchtime. I'm not afraid to eat those calories, and I know it sounds bizarre, but I used to be afraid to eat the calories. Now I just see it as I need these calories to live my life. They are essential. For me, a bigger focus than calories is just the quality of the food that I'm eating. And again, this is a big shift for me because in the past, calories were king. to me, like an evil king who ruled from an iron throne. But I would eat this really low calorie diet that was made up of absolute trash, no nutritional value whatsoever. Focus on the quality of your food. And a good way to do that is, instead of thinking about what you are cutting out, I'm not going to eat cake, I'm not going to eat pizza, I'm not going to eat this or that, the other. Focus on what you're bringing in. So I've started challenging myself to eat 30 different plants a week to kind of sustain and strengthen my gut microbiome. I made a whole separate video about that. But when I'm focusing on eating all those additional plants, there's kind of less room for me mentally and also physically in my stomach for junk food. I fill myself up on the good stuff, and then anything else is just like a bonus treat. And with that, another one of the most impactful changes I've made is actually asking myself, do I want to eat this? Because here's the thing, I realized that a lot of the time I didn't. Like, if I'm in a meeting and there's a tray of donuts, I think I like donuts, I'm gonna eat one. So now, instead of thinking, do I like this, I ask myself, do I want this right now? And the honest answer most of the time I have discovered is no, either because I'm not hungry or I'm just not in the mood for that food at that time. But I was just eating things because they were there. So now, 9 times out of 10, when something is offered to me, I'll be like, oh no, I'm okay, thank you. And then when I am in the mood for that food, be it a brownie, a cookie, an entire pizza from Domino's, if that's what I truly want, then I eat it. I have no judgment. I just like enjoy it and move on with my life. And I think that is balance. It's about actually asking yourself, what do I want? Then you can enjoy the things that you want to enjoy, rather than just eating them because they're there. You don't get the same kind of pleasure out of that, I don't think. I drastically reduced my alcohol intake at Christmas time, and as I'm saying that out loud, I realize that makes it sound like I was drinking a lot. I wasn't drinking a lot. I just drink basically nothing now. I noticed when I made that change that I lost a lot of weight quite quickly, and I think a lot of that is obviously to do with the fact that drink has calories. But it's not just that, it's also the hangover aspect. I get the worst hangovers of anyone you've ever met in your life. So if I have a couple of glasses of wine on a Friday night, cancel the whole of Saturday. I am going to spend the entire day in bed, probably crying, probably eating pizza. Whereas if I don't drink, then the next day I feel great when I wake up, and maybe I'll go for a run, maybe I'll go for a walk. I will be up and about and doing things, and therefore it's not just about the immediate calories that I was drinking. It's like the knock-on effect of the next day as well. Also, I just feel so much better. I just feel so much better now that I drink less. And you know what I've noticed? When I do drink, even if it's just like 2 glasses of wine, the next day I'm always like, I would feel better if I hadn't drunk that, and I don't think it was worth it. Well, that was a whole bunch of information. I'm sorry if I completely bombarded and overloaded you, but I just wanted to share everything that I thought was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. I'll leave the information for the This Time Next Year challenge down in the description box. Thank you so much for watching, and please remember that you are enough just as you are, especially when we are talking about things like weight loss and getting into shape and, you know, getting healthier. I need you to really know that you are enough just as you are. Losing 5 pounds or running a marathon or being able to bench press like twice your body weight, great, but it doesn't make you any more worthy of love, respect and happiness. You are already worthy of those things, just as you are, just in this moment. And when you have a love for yourself, an appreciation for yourself and a respect for yourself, as you are right now, that is when you can start to see the biggest changes. I love you so much, and I will see you soon. Bye.